Hi, my name is Abby Simpson, and I am a care counselor in the Moody College of Communication. It's nice to meet all of you, and thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time today so that we can talk about how to take care of yourself during this first year. So, some of the things that I wanted to talk about today is one, just acknowledging the weirdness of our return to campus and the life that we have all been living for the last couple of years, and how that may be affecting us, especially around understanding our reaction to stress. And then I'd also like to talk with you about how to get support and how to connect with the resources that are available to you. So one, I just want to talk about over the last couple of years, acknowledging all of the strangeness and weirdness, but also the loss that's come with the weirdness and the strangeness. Each of us experiences loss on an individual level, and that, we've all had significant disruptions to our normal routines, to the events that we wanted to have around missed opportunities, right? It's been a long couple of years, and there's a lot of things that haven't happened, and unfortunately nobody can give those back to you. All we can do is move forward, but that's pretty normal to have a lot of emotions around those kinds of losses, whether that be anger, frustration, feeling overwhelmed, sadness. All of those are pretty normal given what we've all been through. Right? Then there's also the collective loss, in that, the things that we as a society or a culture are experiencing that sort of transcend the individual person. And those may, because they're felt throughout a society, those might be impacting your relationships and the people around you as much as you, and that, is going to change the way that we relate to each other. And then, there's also anticipatory loss in that we're not done yet. We're still very much in the middle of things and transition and changes. So, it's pretty normal to have worries and concerns about, what might come next. So, then additionally, acknowledging not just that we've all experienced this collective loss, our individual losses, but also that each of us are going to experience loss, grief, or hardship in different ways. That's going to be very much dependent on you and all of your unique individual factors. Each of us brings a unique set of identities to any situation. And that means that the impact is going to vary between different people. Right? And so as we're thinking about how the last couple of years or, various other things that have happened, as we're thinking about those things, it's important to acknowledge that you're not necessarily going to experience things the same way that the person next to you is going to experience them. And so, when we're making comparisons to other people around us, it's important just to be really fair in making those comparisons and remember that we're all having our own experience. So I wanted to, kind of talk through some of the things that we may be bringing into this year, because being a freshman can already be a very difficult time, in that a lot of changes are happening. There's a lot of disruption to your support systems. There's a lot of disruption to your routines in a normal experience, in a normal year. Right? And this certainly is not a normal year. So each of us has what's called a window of tolerance. And within that window of tolerance, we generally feel pretty good. We feel pretty competent to handle the things that are being thrown at us. But there can be a lot of both internal and external things that happen that push us outside of that window of tolerance and push us sort of beyond what feels comfortable. And we can either go into hyperarousal, we can go into hypoarousal. But either way, when we're pushed out of that window of tolerance, we experience things differently. When we're under high levels of stress, we tend to lose our ability to think creatively, to be flexible in our thinking. We tend to lose our ability to think about, alternatives and options. We tend to get tunnel vision into thinking sort of all or nothing, right? Success or failure. We think in that, very all or nothing terms. When we're under high levels of stress, we also lose our ability to empathize with others to some extent. And all of these things are going to depend on all of those unique identity factors, as well as what kind of stress we might be experiencing. But when we are under high levels of stress, sometimes we get tunnel vision around, what's happening and how bad it feels. And we get tunnel vision around, catastrophizing, worst case scenario thinking, and we get kind of locked in and we lose our ability to look at things from a different perspective, or to, look at things from other people's perspective. We also sometimes under high levels of stress lose our ability to interrupt worry and anxious distress. We lose our ability to let go of our fears. We get locked into that very anxious thinking style, right? And so, that's a pretty human, normal reaction for almost anybody to experience. And then, under any kind of like high levels of stress, thinking about college as a whole is a very high stress lifestyle. And being a freshman, you're coming in and, so much is disrupted for you that we're going to already be experiencing a lot of stress. And we may be coming in at a much higher baseline of stress because of all of those things that we talked about at the very beginning, right? So, I really wanted to take an opportunity to acknowledge that when we are under these high levels of stress, we may be having a different experience than we've had before. And so it's important to remember that if you're struggling, if you are encountering difficulties, that struggling is not failing. If you're struggling, that doesn't mean that you don't belong here or that you don't fit in, or, it doesn't mean that you're going to fail. All it means is that you're struggling because you've been pushed out of your window of tolerance and you're growing. You're being asked to do things that you've never been asked to do before. And that will feel uncomfortable. Growth feels uncomfortable, right? And at the end of that, hopefully we're going to have new skills and we're going to have new abilities that we didn't have before because we've pushed ourselves. But it's also important to remember there's a balance to strike there. Right? Because sometimes when we've been pushed outside of our window of tolerance, we can grow and change. And sometimes we need a little support to come and help us as well. And so we'll talk about that in just a second, as far as, how do I find the support I need if I've been pushed so far out of my window of tolerance that I'm just not able to function that well. But before we do that, I wanted to play a short video clip for you. So let me bring that up on the screen.
I was an electrical engineering major. Over the course of the first semester, things got difficult. I wasn't learning things as quickly as everybody else was, and it was hard. And then second semester came around and it was not gonna be okay. It was a lot of, sitting around and wondering, like, why am I doing this? This isn't fun anymore. I don't want to do it. I didn't want to go to class. I didn't say anything in class. It just got worse and worse. It was like a snowball effect. I kind of became alienated from school. It was a lot of frustration, a lot of anger. And, I would call my dad a lot. My dad is my support system. I would call him, my sister. And I'm just like, what do I do? How do I get out of this? And they would just be like, you have to breathe, you have to relax, you have to realize like all of this struggle is gonna be for a reason. After volunteering my first year and like kind of getting more involved with the community, I realized like I need something that's gonna be more with the public. And I did my research, I looked into it. Then I found School of Social Work. And so I decided to switch my major. Essentially it was exactly what I was looking for, a major that helps people, something that you're basically learning how to encourage and empower people. And I was like, that's basically what I've done my entire life. Success to me is that you do what you love and you excel at it.
Yeah, well, so I just wanted to take an opportunity to play that video for you so that you can hear a fellow UT student's experience and with struggling and growing from that experience and learning what they valued. So let me pull my slides back up here. There we go. Yeah, so if you're struggling, please don't take that as a sign that you're failing. Please just know that growth feels uncomfortable and that struggling is part of growth. But also, while we're talking about struggling, it's important to also talk about how do we take care of ourselves, right? Because given that you're coming in, so many of your support systems have been interrupted, that there's a lot of transition that's happening. Sometimes it's a learning experience to figure out how do we take care of ourselves given all of that. And we get a lot of messages about self-care, that self-care is something that you buy, or self-care is some things that you do, or self-care is anything that feels good. Right? And certainly doing things that feel good sometimes is important. Also, if we're living beyond our means, or if we are making choices that feel really out of balance, or if we're only making choices because they feel good, then we're probably not getting our needs met in a very healthy way. Because it's also important to remember that sometimes, as we're growing, we have to do the uncomfortable things. As human beings, we tend to fall victim to what's called short-term bias. And in short-term bias, your brain is really just trying to protect you. Your brain is trying to save you from things that feel hard or tedious or boring. Your brain is trying to keep you safe. Right? And so your brain is saying, well, don't do that because that seems hard. Do this other thing that feels a lot better, that's easier. And certainly sometimes it is important to do things that feel good and to take care of ourselves and to laugh and to spend time with friends. And even if we feel a little guilty about that, remind ourselves, you know what, I'm doing this because it's important. And also sometimes we have to do the things that don't feel that great, because if we are only choosing what feels good right now in the moment, sometimes we're letting our responsibilities build up and we're actually not taking care of ourselves, because at some point in the future, those things that we've been putting off and those responsibilities that we haven't been taking care of, just getting bigger and bigger and harder to tackle. So keeping in mind that when it comes to self-care isn't always just what feels good. Sometimes self-care is doing the things that we have to do and knowing that future you is going to appreciate the work that you put in now. But that can feel hard to make those choices. I know all of us want to feel like we can take care of ourselves. All of us want to feel like we've got it all together and we don't need to ask for help. Asking for help is really hard, right? Sometimes asking for help is really important, even if it is hard. Just because something is hard doesn't make it not important. So I hope that if you're struggling, that you'll keep in mind that I'm here and around, and also that the Counseling and Mental Health Center is here. And, if you reach out, so as a care counselor, I work for the Counseling and Mental Health Center. So if you reach out to me, or if you reach out to the Counseling and Mental Health Center, the first thing that'll happen is you'll have a brief assessment conversation with either myself or one of the people who help at the counseling center. And in that conversation, we'll just talk about what's going on. We'll talk about, what's getting in your way, and then we'll explore the resources that are available to you to talk about all of your options. And then from there, we'll make a plan. And that plan can look like a lot of different things, but it's going to be unique to you based on what's going to make the most sense given your situation. And, the Counseling Center and myself, we have a lot of different services that we can offer. Sometimes we can offer short-term counseling. If somebody comes in knowing that they want something a little longer term, or if that becomes something that they want, then we also have referral assistants to help use your resources to connect off campus. We also have lots of information about campus and as well as off-campus resources. There's a lot of resources that we have access to. And if you want to come and have a conversation, I can help you explore what might make the most sense for you. Right? So thank you so much for giving me some of your attention today. Again, my name is Abby Simpson. And if you'd like to reach out to me, this is my phone number. I don't use email only because it's not considered completely confidential. So please give me a phone call. And if you don't reach me, please leave me a message. Doesn't have to be a long message, just something with your EID, name, and phone number. That way I can get back in touch with you. And if it's something that needs to be addressed urgently, please keep in mind that we have our 24-hour crisis line. And that is a number that is available to you nights, weekends, holidays, anytime. And is staffed by licensed counselors who can help you in the moment to figure out what's going to help you. As well as, the Counseling Center is available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 for immediate needs as well. So take care of yourselves out there, and I hope you have a terrific semester. Thank you.